We're all made of layers, the ones we show the world and the ones we keep just for ourselves. On the Layers of Us podcast, we peel back those layers through honest conversations about identity, growth, and the stories that shape us. From queer and BIPOC voices to anyone with a layered story to tell, this is where we explore where we've been, what we've carried, and who we're becoming, one story at a time. I'm your host, Amanda Wan, and this is The Layers of Us. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to the podcast. So today we have another guest with us and we have Kelsey. So hi Kelsey.
Hello.
Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, your identity, all those things?
Yeah, so I'm Kelsey. I am a 25-year-old lesbian living in the Midwest, so pretty conservative area. And I am a scientist by trade, but I also make content just about being queer and open about it. And just really embracing my lesbian identity, because that really helped me a lot when I was going through my coming out journey, and being able to do that for other people has been really fun, and it's been a great creative outlet for me as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. Can you kind of share a little bit about what it was like growing up and like living in a conservative area as a queer person, even if you weren't out yet, but like you knowing that and knowing that you're in a conservative space?
Yeah, I definitely think growing up in a conservative area is kind of what prevented me from kind of realizing I was gay for a long time. I grew up, I felt different a lot of the times, and it was always funny because I would always say, I don't want to get married because I don't want to spend my life with a man. But I never really understood what I meant by that. Like, I just was like, oh, I'm not going to get married ever because I don't want to be married to a man.
Yeah.
And there's always like the stigma and, there's always, when you're living in a conservative area, it's hard to explain, but it's like, there's always like the little comments that are not always just outright homophobic, but you definitely know that there's that stigma there, and there's that prejudice and bias against queer people. And so I think that's what kind of prevented me from fully diving into it, because I was like hearing all of these things and I was like, oh my God, I can't be gay, and so when I was in high school, like I said, I was always just like, I'm not going to get married because I don't want to get married to a man.
Yeah.
And then I had my first crush on a girl when I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, what's this? And it was really strange, and it was really hard to deal with at that point, because I was trying to figure out, okay, why do I feel this way about this girl?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, maybe I am a little bit gay. And so at that point I came up to my friends as bi, and they were like, yeah, okay, we knew that. Like, you always said, oh, you don't want to get married because you don't want to spend your life with a man. And then so I became more comfortable in my identity. I had very supportive friends at that point. I wasn't out to anybody but them. But having that group of people was really nice and helped a lot. But then I went to college, and I chose a very common school from where that a lot of people from my high school went, which is a conservative Christian university. And trying to navigate being queer there, I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to be straight. That's essentially what it was. I was like, I'm going to be straight. It's fine. We're good. And then 2020 hit. And TikTok happened. And as I'm sure for a lot of people too, I started getting a lot of like queer, like lesbian coded videos on my For You page and stuff. And I was like, I would distinctly remember telling my roommate at that time, I was like, I wish I were gay. And I realized at that point, like, oh, if you're saying you wish you were gay, then that might mean something.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just say I'm bi again. And I went through, because I was like, at that point too, I was not out to my parents. And growing up, both of my sets of grandparents are very conservative. And so my parents are naturally very conservative. And so I wasn't out to them at that point. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just say I'm bi. Because then I can, end up with a man and nobody will ever know.
Yeah.
And so I tried dating men a lot throughout college, and I went through some pretty rough mental health moments in my sophomore year of college. And then kind of coming out of that, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gay. I can't keep
Yeah.
pretending anymore. Um, and then when I came out to my friends, they were like, yeah, you didn't know that? Yeah, I came out to my friends in college. I had a different set of friends at that point, and they were like, yeah, you didn't know that. And so navigating that was hard. I was out to most of them, pretty much everybody I knew in my life. But I still wasn't out to my parents. And I actually didn't really uh, come out to my parents until very recently, before I went to Greece on an all queer group trip. And I was like, you know what? I'm leaving the country for the first time. They're going to ask questions. I'm just going to tell them. And I was terrified to tell them because, like I said, they are conservative. I grew up in a very conservative area. But it actually ended up going pretty well. They were pretty accepting of it. They had their hesitations about it. But I got very lucky having parents that were like willing to accept it, because I know not everybody gets that, and I will never take that for granted. So
And what about like, do your grandparents know?
no, my grandparents
Okay.
don't know, and I probably will never tell them just because I don't think they're going to be as open about it as my parents were.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's the nature of having, grandparents that were ex-Amish and then grandparents that are from the deep South.
Yeah, no,
So,
for sure.
um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how did you kind of find like safe spaces to kind of explore your identity, even though you felt like you were kind of like in a closed off space,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense?
A lot of people say this, but it was TikTok, and social
Mm-hmm.
media. Just having those, people online being so open and proud of their queerness, um, really helped me a lot. And I started following a couple different people. I became friends with them. I started making friends in like their comment sections. And another really big thing was the all queer group trip I went on, um, in May, which connected me with even more people. And now I have this whole queer community online and in person now. Um, that's been really nice. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And a question I ask a lot of people because I felt this way is when I came out, I felt like I had to kind of present myself in a certain way or look more gay.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, like I thought like looking masculine is the only way to look
Yeah.
gay and stuff. Did you ever feel that you had to like change your style or change how you look to kind of pass as gay, if that makes sense?
And there have been instances where I have thought that, and I still experience that to this day because I am a more feminine presenting person. Um, but yeah, for the most part, I've been pretty lucky that I haven't felt the need to do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it has something like I've struggled with a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, I get that.
I feel like that way too sometimes because I'm like, I'm not like mass, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
also not feminine. I kind of just like lie in the middle. And sometimes I'm like, oh, like, sometimes I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I wonder if people like would know that I'm gay.
Yeah,
And then if people say like, no, you look straight, then I get annoyed. But I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I feel like my gaydar is also really bad. So like, I get it.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think there's no one look to being gay. And I think that's just like a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, yeah, I feel that. Um, Another question I have for you is how has your identity kind of influenced your career path and stuff? Because I know you work in STEM, I
Mm-hmm.
believe. Yeah. So how has that journey kind of been for you, like a queer person working in this type of career?
That's a really interesting question. It's like a harder one to answer because I've gotten pretty fortunate in some ways to. I work for like a biotech company that's pretty accepting, pretty open, and I'm very fortunate to have that. Um, but a lot of it's not even necessarily the professional struggles; it's the imposter syndrome, a lot. Because as a woman in STEM, I always feel like, do I belong here? Like, am I smart enough for this? Am I good enough for this? And being queer on top of that, it's like, okay, I don't want my coworkers to think less of me because I'm gay, because I already think they think less of me because, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's been more of a struggle. The job I'm in now, I'm surrounded by some incredible people who are so supportive of me being a woman in STEM and also being a queer woman in STEM. I absolutely love the people I work with right now. My previous job, I had good coworkers. I have no ill will towards any of them, but they were definitely in like the more like the older like Gen X age group,
Yeah.
and there was always like that, like they were accepting, but that like stigma and stereotypes of like lesbians and queer people that would just come out. Um, and a lot of stuff I've noticed too, in this is like other previous jobs, was the over sexualization of lesbians. Like that's something that happens so much, and especially with like the older generations, they would always make
Yeah.
those jokes like, "Oh my god, I kissed my best friend," whatever. Like, and just dealing with that has been hard because they think they're being, you know, friendly and a good coworker, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you kissed a girl, cool. I do that too.
Yeah. How did you kind of like navigate those instances? Like, what did you kind of say, or did you just kind of ignore
I
it?
just kind of laughed it off and ignored it, which honestly kind of
Mhm.
I wish I hadn't, because I feel like that's an
Yeah.
opportunity where I could have, educated them a little bit and been like, hey, like I understand like this is a common joke and this is a common stereotype,
Yeah.
but like you don't need to over sexualize, queer women because
Yeah.
we kiss other women. That's not what this is.
It's like
It's
normal.
normal.
Like that's just like how it is. Yeah.
You kiss your husband. Okay, I kiss my girlfriend. Like, what's the difference?
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. Um, what strategies have kind of helped you advocate for yourself in spaces that weren't kind of designed with you in mind, whether it be being a woman or being
Mm-hmm.
queer? How did you kind of like advocate for yourself? Because I feel like that's hard, especially like during job interviews and stuff, for example.
Yeah. So I think the best way to answer this question, because it's something I'm still actively learning how to do, to be honest.
For sure.
I am the eldest daughter. I'm gay. I am a major people pleaser. So advocating for
Hmm.
myself has been something that I've been actively working on for a very long time. Um, and I guess the biggest thing has just to be like as clear as possible as I can be, um, during like job interviews. And yeah, I don't. It's like I said, it's a hard question for me to answer because I'm still actively working on it. Um,
For sure.
but just trying to stand my ground even when I'm scared, and when it's safe for me to
Hmm.
stand my ground. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, I feel like it's going to be like something that unfortunately, as queer
Mm-hmm.
women, we're going to have to deal with for the rest of our
Yeah.
lives. Like, in so many different scenarios, but I think like you said, like standing your ground and like trying to stand
Mm-hmm.
up for yourself is like the most important thing. But I also feel that like I'm like shy and like introverted, so like having to stand up for myself is scary to me. And also like I don't like
Oh yeah.
confrontation, so if it like becomes this thing, then like it'll stress me out and I'd rather just not
Mm-hmm.
speak. But it's important to speak up
Yeah.
for ourselves.
So we're working on it. We're working on it.
100%. So why do you think queer representation in leadership and professional spaces is important? And in your specific
Mm-hmm.
career path, like we're talking about, is there any like representation of like queerness in these like communities or in these like jobs that you're in?
So I think the representation matters because it helps us see ourselves in that. Yeah, see ourselves in that position.
Yes.
I've gotten very lucky that with both of my last two jobs, um, I've had women as my managers, and they're like
Okay, I
very
love that.
strong-willed women who are not afraid to just do the job, get it done, and that's been very
Hmm.
encouraging. Um, especially in a STEM field. And so I think seeing that representation just in general is very encouraging. And then queer representation, I have not really seen queer representation in my experience in STEM, which is why I like try to be more, you know, vocal about my queerness, try to be more open about it, because I want people to see that you can be queer and, you know, in STEM. Like, obviously that seems like a given, but it's sometimes harder than that when you are struggling with the imposter syndrome of, do I belong here? So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is just be that queer representation for people.
Yeah. And I think it's important. Yeah, like even you posting online talking about you being queer and being in STEM, I think that's already so much. I feel like growing up in like watching media and consuming media, I never saw like queer Asian women, for example. So that's what like I'm trying to do for people and be like, you can do whatever the fuck you want and be queer and be Asian. So I think you posting on your platform is important, and like you never know who will find it, and like you can be the reason that someone's like, oh, like I can do this, I can be in this field. So I think it's just important to talk about it, whether one person's listening or thousands of people are listening. I think it's just important, like if you don't have that representation, to create it.
And that's like how I was able to like find myself and find the confidence I have in being queer and being proud that I am a woman in STEM, is seeing that representation. And I'm trying to be that for people. And trying to navigate that as best as I can. I am very privileged in the fact that I am a white cis woman who is like straight passing, and I want to like, I don't know, if utilize that privilege to be like, hey, you don't have to like look a certain way or be a certain way. You can be queer, you can be in STEM. Does that make sense? Like,
no, it does.
Yeah.
Like speaking up for people who might not have that voice.
Yeah. So
no,
that's what I'm trying to do. And it's been fun, and it's been rewarding for me, and I hope that it's helped some people, but I know that it's helped me. So
if someone's listening to this right now and they're also queer, they haven't come out yet, and they're living in a conservative environment, what advice would you give to them?
That's a good question. I think is to find your community, whether that be online, that's with your, you know, in-person trusted friends, even if it's one other person, finding somebody that you know is safe and who will support you, who might even be queer themselves, and just embracing and nurturing those friendships and that community, because that's truly the only way I've gotten through it. And like I got through it growing up, was just having support, people who supported me, people that I knew were on my side and who understood what I was going through, being queer in a conservative area. So just nurturing your communities that you have, if it is safe for you to do so, because it's not always safe to be queer in a conservative area.
Yeah, for sure. And going on the professional route, if someone is listening to this and they're just an ally, like they're straight, but they want to be there for their queer colleagues, how do you think people can better show up for their queer colleagues?
I think just even in the quiet ways, I've personally found to be helpful. Like I have a coworker who's got a pride flag on their desk, and they're not queer, but and you know, just the supportive of, oh, I came out to my colleagues and they were like, okay, and not being like making it a whole huge thing, and just normalizing it, and just making it a safe space to like, oh, I can talk about, okay, you know, my relationship problems with my girlfriend, or, you know, oh, I'm, you know, going on a date with this girl, you know, being open and being that safe space and just normalizing it. Because if you can talk about your boyfriend, why can't I talk about dating women, you know?
Exactly. And I also saw that you are hosting a queer trip, I believe,
Yes.
next year. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, how that came to
Yeah, so
life?
I haven't like announced it on my socials just yet, but by the time this probably goes up, it will have been announced. I'm hosting a second one next year. The first one I'm hosting is to Spain
Okay.
in May. We're going to 4 different cities and just kind of exploring like the culture, the historical sites, the must-see pieces of these different cities in Spain. Um, and then in December, this one is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm so excited to launch this one. We're going to the Galapagos Islands and exploring like
Okay.
Darwin's Research Center, exploring the different islands, and it's just a huge part of why the field I'm in exists because I'm a biologist. And so getting to explore a huge piece of why my field even exists with a whole group of other queer people is just incredible. And I'm
Yeah.
so excited to be able to do that. But this came to be because I went to Greece with Sydney Casson in May. She hosts the all queer group trips. And they're absolutely incredible. And
Yeah.
I 10 out of 10 recommend going on one. But I went to Greece and we had just seen the Acropolis. We had just, hiked up, seen the Parthenon, seen, the top of the Acropolis, which also is absolutely incredible. Athens from up there is stunning. Um, we had done that and we were walking back down and people were going to tour the Acropolis Museum. And at that point I was like, I just need to sit down. So it was me, Sydney,
Yeah.
and my friend Jen, and a few other people went to the Acropolis Cafe. And I was sitting there like, I like want to do this. Like I want to see the world, but I want to have this safe space for queer people. Because it's the way I felt seen and on that trip, even like 2 days in, was just absolutely incredible. Having that queer community being brought together to see the world was life changing. It had been
Yeah.
2 days and it was life changing. And I was like, you know what? I want to do this. And so I'd been talking to Sydney and Jen about it. And when I got back, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to reach out to this travel company and see what happens. Because what's the worst they can say? No.
Mm-hmm.
Me and I think I had like
Exactly.
200 followers on TikTok at that point. Like, what are they going to say? No? Cool, fine, whatever. I reached out to them and they were like, yeah, we actually love this idea. Let's, get the ball rolling. And so I started surveying people. I had a lot of people take the survey and everybody wanted to go to Spain. So we started planning a Spain trip and then got that all settled. And then I posted a video of me sitting in my car. I made it right before I went into work. I was just like, hey, if you're gay and want to travel, go to Spain with me. And that one kind of popped off.
Yeah.
And I now have like over 250 people on my like interest list for traveling for this trip and in the
That's
future.
so cool.
So far, I've only had one sign up for Spain, but I'm not letting it discourage me because it's in May. We still have time.
We
We
still
still
have
have time.
time. Yeah.
But yeah, the absolute like joy and community and love I felt on that Greece trip is kind of what pushed me to want to do this. And I hope that I can
For
bring
sure.
that to other people as well.
Yeah.
So,
No, I love that. What's one piece of like encouragement or one thing you would say to your younger self if you were watching yourself right now or like seeing where your life is? What would you tell them?
this is like, the stereotypical cheesy answer, but I would just tell her, like, she is going to be okay. She is going to start figuring stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to have everything figured out at this point. That's okay. And
Yeah.
she is going to be okay. And she's still going to be working on things that make her happy and that are going to, fulfill her so much, even if it's not what she thought she was going to do.
I love that. I mean, it's important. And even though you said that's like stereotypical answer, like it's good that
Mm-hmm.
you feel that way and that you feel like you're in where you're supposed to be right now. And then my last question is, since the podcast is called The Layers of Us, what layer would you like to kind of pull back and learn more about yourself in the upcoming year?
I really like that question.
Thanks.
What layer do I want to pull back and learn more? Just like my confidence. I'm still, like I said, I'm a people pleaser at heart. I'm the eldest daughter. That's what happens. And so it's been hard to be confident in the decisions I make sometimes. But peeling back that layer and just like seeing that like you have the confidence to do the things you want and to take the things you want and just go with it, you know? Like sometimes you just have to be confident even when you're not, if that makes any sense, and just do it anyways. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to try to run a queer group trip. And now I'm hopefully running 2 next year. And so we're just peeling back, working on my confidence.
Yeah, I love that. Well, that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much again for coming on. Before you leave, do you want to shout out any of your socials, where people can find you, where they can potentially sign up for the group trips?
Yeah, so you can find me at Things Kels Does on both TikTok and Instagram. They're both, my trips and stuff are linked in my bios on both of those places. So yeah, I hope, more people will sign up and can come on these trips and just create this community. And I've made so many friends from my Greece trip, and I just want that for other people. So
yes, I love that. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you.